Hi everyone, Patrick Farber here from Umpire Classroom. Real quick, just wanted to explain this clip that we got was sent in to us by a viewer, and by the time I got a chance to go try and find the film, it had already been pulled off of the sharing website. But we still have this recording to use, and ultimately when breaking this down, you'll be able to get just as much out of it, even though the detail's not going to be great. So hope this helps. It's something for us all to learn from, and there you go. Here we are. This is a playoff game. We've got bottom of the first, runners on first and third, and one out. We're going to have the ball hit to the third baseman, who, with R3 coming home, throws to the plate, tough slide, and they get him out. And if we go back and look at that real quickly, now it's close, but I do think that this is an illegal slide. The reason being, when he makes contact with the catcher, his foot is on the ground, but it doesn't look like his buttocks is in the ground, which would make this an illegal slide. But of course, the only penalty for that is that the runner is still out. It's not malicious, so we don't have to worry about an ejection. But what causes the issue is this part right here from the catcher, this little step over move. Now, in basketball, that would be a technical foul, but obviously we don't have that in baseball. And given that this is a playoff game, you're really trying to avoid any ejections of players. And certainly after a play like this, where we had a lot of hard contact from the runner coming into the catcher, you'd much rather you just do this step over move versus coming up and throwing a punch. But the first base coach comes down immediately and starts arguing with the umpire. And I'm going to assume that the first base coach is an assistant coach, since that's normal for high school, and that the third base coach is probably the head coach. And the head coach does a good job here. He comes down, gets in between the two of them, but then the assistant coach starts talking to the catcher. And this should have been avoided. Our first base umpire should have been coming down as soon as he saw that the first base coach is coming. Once you see the first base coach and assistant coach is coming to argue, we should assume that the head coach is going to come out as well to try and save his coach. You need to be getting down there to break up the situation so that the umpire that made the call can talk to the head coach. But because we're late on this, we only compound the issues here, because then after the assistant coach can't talk to the umpire, he starts complaining to the other team's catcher. We should never have a situation where an assistant coach, or even a head coach for that matter, of one team is talking to a player of the other team, especially in a manner like this, because you're going to upset the player that you're talking to, but you're also going to upset the other team's coaches. And you can see it while he does this. He gets the 1 point and then the second point at him. The assistant coach for the visiting team, he sees this and he's upset about it, but he's trying to get his head coach to go deal with the situation. And the head coach, credit to him, he stays fairly calm through all of this. But in another world where that assistant coach is the head coach for this game, he's coming out on this scenario heated and probably pushing or shoving or getting in a fight with that assistant coach. So we're lucky we avoided that here. And our umpire then misses, but he finally realizes he's got to come in and get involved in this conversation. Again, when we have two coaches arguing with each other, this is never good. When we let this happen, this is how we get a fight, either on the field or in the stands. Look, this move here, this 4 or 5 feet away, putting your hand up and telling them to stop, that's never going to work with two adult men at any point. That's no way to address this situation. You have to get physically between them, and that might require that you put your hands on their chest to try and separate them physically, and that's okay in this scenario. The biggest thing is we can't have coaches from opposing teams arguing with each other. And while this is happening, our plate umpire is still dealing with the head coach of the home team and the catcher of the visiting team, so it's not unreasonable for him to not be there yet. But our third base umpire, who somehow has still managed to stay roughly in the same place this entire time, needs to be getting involved in this. Now, this takes way too long. I'm not going to actually let it all play out, but it takes him about 20 seconds to get to where he's trying to address it from where he was standing on the field. And then when he gets there, he gets to this point right here, and that's how he's going to address the scenario. The coaches are so far off the screen yelling at each other, and his way of addressing this is from 20 plus feet away. Just absolutely ridiculous, the attempt here to try and get involved in this. Finally, they're able to get the two coaches for the home team separated from the visiting team, but they're still yelling at each other down here. As soon as you get in between them, it's immediate. That assistant coach, if somehow not ejected, should at least be restricted to the dugout. And the head coach, too, he's got no business to talk to the other coaches. If you have something about them, you go through the umpires to talk about this. So get him back either to the dugout where you should have restricted him by this point, or at least back to the third base coach's box. But instead, this situation continues to go on. And we'll fast forward through it just because, you've seen enough bad umpiring here. You don't need to see every bit of it. Oh, there you go. Even the police feel that they have to come out because the umpire crew can't get a hold of this. Just absolutely terrible game management. And it's still going on. It's still going on. We're still dealing with this. And finally, there we go. The plate umpire taking the head coach. So the assistant coach still over there arguing, but at least the plate umpire gets the head coach to start going the same way. And, the head coach over here does apologize or say something to the catcher of the other team. It looks like a better interaction, but given the hostility so far into the game, absolutely no way we should have let that conversation happen. Third base umpire wanders off. He hasn't done anything to this point. Why keep trying to? And there he is, the first base coach, the guy who started all of this 2.5 minutes ago, still on the field. Still on the field. Not even restricted to the dugout. How does an umpire crew let that happen, yet alone the fact that they're not even getting together to discuss the situation, which is what they should have done. They should right now that they've got everyone back to their positions, be getting together to go over what happened and who they're going to restrict and eject. But instead, we've let the coach stay. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, maybe the first base umpire just realized, oh, wait, he hasn't gone back to the dugout. I got to tell him, hey, buddy, you're restricted to the dugout. He's pointing back, and nope. Doesn't even go back to the dugout. All this, it's over 3 minutes now from the play happening at the plate, and we don't even have a restriction to the dugout on this. At this point, the crew should have been getting together to discuss restrictions and injections. Instead, they don't even get together to talk about this. It's worth noting, this is a playoff game. You don't want to eject a bunch of players if you can avoid it, and you certainly don't necessarily have to. But here is where the altercation between the two coaches started, right here. At this point, it is a violation of the rules for any player to leave their position when this is happening. And as you can see, R2, he's running over. All the position players start coming over, and the home team dugout starts to exit. By rule, everyone who left their position as a player is ejected. Those dugout players should have been ejected. The fielders, all of the ones that left their position, ejected. The runners on base, ejected. And I'm going to guess that if some people came out of the first base dugout, they should be ejected as well. Now, again, a playoff game, we don't want to end up in a situation where we're forfeiting a playoff game because they don't have players. But that said, this should have earned a restriction from every coach for the rest of the game, period. You're going to coach the game from your dugout. If you want to send a kid out there with a helmet on, they can. But failure to control your players, absolutely. Restrict the head coaches to the dugout. I'm still ejecting the first base coach. Just ultimately, this is terrible game management. And the fact that they don't address this at all is really just bad from any umpire crew. But hopefully, for people watching this, you can learn how to not handle a situation like these three, and hopefully you have a better luck in your games.